and welcome. If you're new to this channel, let me introduce myself. My name is Logan. This is Timeless Personal Growth and Development. Fitness, episode 7, and today what we're talking about is hypertrophy. So for those of you who have never heard of hypertrophy, hypertrophy is the growth of muscle fibers, which happens when you stress out muscle fibers, when you lift weights, when you work out, when you do what you got to do in the conditioning room. Hypertrophy. Well, how does hypertrophy work? Well, let's say you're doing bicep curls. You're doing 12 reps, 3 sets of bicep curls. You're shocking the muscle. You're stressing. You're stimulating the muscle fibers in your bicep. So what happens from there? Well, finish your workout, you give yourself 48 to 72 hours to recover. The muscle fibers, the cells will start to repair itself. And with the adequate amount of protein and nutrients in your body, your muscle fibers will grow. They will get bigger based on primarily two things, based on the amount of stress you put it through, the amount of effective recovery you give your biceps, and the efficient amount of protein and nutrients that you put into your muscles. You've got to be able to do all those three things: shock the muscle, adequate amount of recovery, and adequate amount of nutrients and protein in the body. So what happens when you're not giving your body, like if you're missing out on one or two of those three things? Well, if you're not shocking the muscle enough, like I'll give you an example. I would work out with a friend many years ago, and I liked really pushing myself in the gym. I really like working hard. I really like challenging myself. I like feeling the blood pumping through the muscles and just my muscle burning and aching. I really like that feeling. My friend, on the other hand, he liked going to the gym, but he wouldn't push himself very hard. So he would do his sets, do his reps of like bicep curls or getting the bench press or deadlift, but he wouldn't be stressing himself out enough. It wouldn't be enough. 2 sets, and you can see he was barely lifting, barely struggling, and then later on, like the week after, he'd be complaining like, I'm not really seeing a change in my bicep. It's like, well, that's the thing, you got to, like, if you guys ever watched Pumping Iron, Arnold Schwarzenegger would state, you need to shock the muscle. You need to stimulate it. You need to shock it for effective growth. If you're not shocking that muscle, you're not going to get any hypertrophy. Even if you may get a little bit if you get effective recovery and growth, but not as much as you could if you shock it. You really push and you really stimulate it and you really push to failure. So you make sure you got to really push and you really shock and get that last possible rep that you possibly can do, and then you're going to shock the muscle. Then we move on to recovery. If you're not getting effective recovery, you're not going to get proper hypertrophy. So let's say if you're doing bicep curls and you're shocking it, you're stimulating it, but you're doing that every single day, and you're doing it on a Monday, and then you're doing it on a Tuesday, and you're not giving your body, you're not giving all your different muscle groups the proper amount of time to recover, because your muscle grows not through the stimulation, it's through the recovery that it grows. And if you're not getting proper recovery, it's not doing anything but damaging the muscle fibers and all the cells in your body, and you're not giving it an efficient amount of time for proper recovery. And for me, I have a hard time because I wouldn't, if I could, I'd work out every day and I'd stimulate and shock the body every single day. But I know that's not healthy to do it. So even if you're doing it's good to work out every day, but not blasting your biceps every single day. It needs effective recovery, or as I like to call, forced rest days. And for me, it has to be really forced, because I would like to blast all my muscle fibers as much as I could every day, but I know in the long term, it's not good for you. So you need effective recovery. Ideally, 48 to 72 hours of effective recovery on the muscle. And you want whatever muscle you're training, whatever muscle you're working with, your quads, and you're doing squats, lunges, whatever, you want to make sure you're shocking that muscle twice a week. Ideally twice a week. And you do it in the beginning of the week, do it on a Monday, and then you go and do it again on a Friday. So it gets the proper shock and it gets the proper rest for the next workout. And then you just repeat that cycle over again. Third point was effective nutrients. So for the muscle to properly grow, yes, it needs to be shocked, it needs to be recovered. But if you want to build those big giant pecs, big biceps, those big deltoids, it needs a sufficient amount of protein. And for me, that's honestly the hardest part. For me, that's the hardest one, is getting the amount of protein, because ideally, the amount of protein you want it equal to the amount of body weight. So, for example, I'm roughly 195 pounds. Ideally, I want 200 grams of protein a day. That's a lot. That's a lot of food. That's a lot of protein. So if you're having 5-6 little meals a day, those little meals have to have protein in them. In the beginning, the first 2 meals are fine, but once you get to the 5th and 6th at the end of the day, it's a pain. It's a pain in the ass. And if you're looking for hypertrophy, you're looking to get bigger, to get larger muscle fibers, for your muscles to grow and gain size, you need to eat. You need the proper nutrients. Because if you're not getting the proper nutrients, the muscle won't grow as much as it could. And that's gonna be really the visual difference that you'll see in the mirror. It will be based on the amount of protein that you're taking into your body. So if you're exceeding the amount of energy, and the amount of energy that you're putting out is exceeding the amount of energy you're putting in the food that you eat, all that's going to happen is maybe you'll slim down and you'll lose some weight, but it won't be effective hypertrophy. If all the nutrients, the right foods, the proper foods like your protein, your carbs, all that, get in your vegetables, is exceeding the amount of energy you're putting out into your workouts, that's where hypertrophy is going to be the most effective. But you got to make sure that you have all 3 elements combined. You got to have the effective amount of protein that is equal to your body weight. You got to have effective recovery, 48 to 72 hours effective recovery, and you got to shock the muscle, push it to failure, and repeat that cycle twice a week. You want to stimulate that muscle twice a week and get all 3 elements that we talked about and get it in there and get effective recovery. And I'll end this video on one more aspect of it. Consistency. You need to be consistent in that and all that. Because if you're consistent in your rest, in your eating, and your workouts, the intensity of your workouts, if that's consistent month in, month out, 6 months, you're going to see it. You're going to see the difference, and you're going to see effective hypertrophy. And on that note, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, you can like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Logan Ryder, Timeless Personal Growth and Development. And I will see you all in the next video. Have a good one.